Hello, my lovely peaches. Happy Merry Christmas Eve. It's my cute little Christmas tree, my cute little Charlie Brown tree. It's adorable and I love it. We actually just got it today. So, I'm using this as my mirror. It's dark in here, but that's okay. I'm going to scooch over so there's room for the captions I'm going to generate. So right now I'm currently premiering on my Cat Love Dreaming Peach.com YouTube channel. I am currently premiering a video called Switched at Birth Show, Problematic Storylines, Essay Justice, Justin Baldoni lively lies or deserves despise? Question mark. So it's a 45-minute video. It's kind of a mashup of me talking about this show called Switched at Birth. It's an old show. The TV drama series Switched at Birth ran from June of 2011 to April of 2017, 5 seasons. Created by Lizzie Weiss and aired on ABC Family, which later changed its name to Freeform. It follows 2 teenage girls who discover they are switched at birth and the social issues they face. Oh, it won an honorary Peabody Award in 2013, and I learned. Okay, so I just chatted with my son for a long while, and I think my video is done premiering. Let's see.
How many times have you had to tug?
But the whole point why I wanted to make this video was to say that, or it's still going. Coming forward with allegations of SA against someone is extremely difficult, and most people don't come forward. And the ones that do come forward are often villainized, and there's a huge blame the victim mentality. And I am fully aware of the fact that my initial position regarding Blake Lively and Justin is that I don't believe her, and that's based on the fact that I already have formed an opinion about both of them, which is based on their own public personas that they've been working on for the past, decade plus, that they've both been actors and in the public eye. So obviously public personas can be completely fabricated, and people can be nothing like that. And especially perpetrators who SA people are often not going to show that that's who they really are to the public. So I also know that women are often not believed, and that there has been, the Me Too movement really was pushing forward the idea that women should be believed, which I wholeheartedly agree. I also agree that men should be believed, trans people should be believed, non-binary, gender fluid, who cares what your genitals are? I sure don't. Anybody should be believed. And, in my own lifetime, back in 1989, 1990, 1991, the Menendez brothers did a horrific thing. They took their parents' lives, and they said it was because they had been SA'd all their lives, and they were scared for their lives, and they had lived a lifetime of horrific abuse. And they were told, boys can't get abused, boys can't get raped, it's not possible. If it happened at all, you liked it. And to this day, many people still think that they were just greedy, rich boys who wanted all of their parents' money, and not sad, victims who also happen to be rich kids that have been victimized their whole lives by both of their parents. Both of their parents SA'd both of them. And the mentality around men being victims is still archaic, and it's still so backwards. And while it's true that the National SV Resource Center puts the false report rate at 2% to 10%, and so it's not an actual lawsuit. She's not suing him in civil court. It's a legal complaint. So Blake Lively actually filed an administrative complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, which is not a civil lawsuit. So the CRD investigates such claims. She's alleging workplace misconduct under labor or civil rights statutes. They investigate such claims and may mediate or issue a, quote, right to sue letter, enabling the complainant to take the case to court. The filing is not a criminal case. It does not claim any explicitly illegal conduct under criminal law. It reflects accusations of behavior that violate workplace and civil rights laws, if true, such as creating a hostile work environment and retaliation. And if the things that she's saying are true, they would actually be SA. So, I already got to 7 minutes of the video. I was talking about the switched at birth storylines that had to do with SA, and then I started talking about some of my own experiences, a particular experience with someone where, you know, when I talk about it and I say, like, I literally said no to this guy 1,000 times that night. No, I don't want to. No, I don't want to. No, 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 no. And then I say it somehow I was like pushed onto the couch, but it wasn't at all violent. It was like, it's playful. It's all playful. He's being playful. I don't want to. I was young. I was 25. I kept saying, no, I don't want to. But at some point in the night, his constant, relentless pressure, and, you know, like I said, it's playful. It's like, oh, I'm pushing you on the couch. Oh, I'm laying on top of you. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing this. I'm trying. And, you know, at no point in time, if I were to think about it, do I have a mental vision of like what you would think of as grape. But when I look back on it and I realize I didn't want to do it at all. He completely pressured me, and I caved in because I was a very, very abused person who didn't have healthy boundaries, who didn't understand anything about that, and, you know, who had been groomed. I mean, I think almost as soon as I was born, things were happening. Like, from birth to 5 years old, God knows what I went through. And, you know, I was groomed to do things with men I didn't want to do. So, you know, I understand that there's so many things that can happen that you don't want to have happen, and you don't realize sometimes till 25 years later, although I did realize it. I mean, I knew right away it's not what I wanted. And then I talked about, I think there was right around, like, within a month of that time, he felt comfortable enough to just take it out and try to, like, literally putting it in my face and, like, standing on the bed with his junk in my face, undies down, trying, like, to put it in my mouth. Like, come on. It was so much fun. Let's do it again. And I'm like, no, I don't want to, you know. And then he stopped, but it's like, Part 2. So there were many instances in my life where something happened between me and someone that I didn't really want. I didn't know how to say no, or I didn't recognize what was happening because I was so young. Like when I was 15 and I was with this 19-year-old who I had known since I was 13 and I had been obsessed with. And when I look back at the experience, in my actual memory is completely, I won't say completely, but it's grape. Like I went there willingly. I wanted to go there. I wanted to see him. I wanted to do what we did. Again, I was too young to consent. I was only 15. I didn't realize that. And then when we were there on the bed and it started to happen, it hurt like hell. And I don't believe I screamed out the word no or stop. But my body was rejecting him. I was moving back. And then I was pinned against the wall. I mean, his headboard and the wall. And he was laughing. He was doing the thing he was doing. And it was very painful. And I had tried to get away. And I was pinned against the bed. And my ass was on the pillow. And he thought that was so funny as he very aggressively finished. And I walked to the bus stop thinking, that was so painful, that was so terrible. I didn't like that at all. And it was many years, it was decades before I would look back at it and realize, well, first of all, that was statutory rape. Second of all, it was terrible. So I just want to say, in the show Switched at Birth, the situation with Bay, I would say yes, there was. I didn't like how they wrote it, but at the same time, yeah, even if you are drinking and you're drunk and you're laughing and you're hanging on someone, and even if you lay down in a bed with them, even if you kiss them, even if you started to do something, you can still say no. You still have a right to say no. And if you're too drunk to consent, then, but if the other person is too drunk to consent, if it's like, that's where it does get muddy and it does get complicated. And, that was something that the character Bay was very insistent on saying to Emmett. And that's part of what I felt was so confusing. Like, I don't understand why she didn't put that amount of energy into the school board who expelled him. And like, when he de-pledged for her, he lost all of his friends. He became a pariah. And that made his life really hard. And then when that happened and she let it spiral out of control, it was like his life was ruined. And I understand that everyone needs to be educated. Men, women, girls, boys, we all need to learn how to actually talk about consent. And we need to learn how to stand up for ourselves. And we need to learn how to say no, And in the case with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, if it's true that he really was talking about his wife giving birth. And so the thing is that it sounds also very complicated and complex because they were filming a movie and they were doing sex scenes, and there was DV and SA. They had an intimacy coordinator, and so I don't ever want to blame a victim. And I don't ever want to make excuses for an abuser. But that goes both ways. I don't ever want to make excuses for an abuser if in fact that abuser is the one who's alleging the accusations, which does sometimes happen. It's maybe 2 to 10% of the time, but it happens. And I think that people have a right to be considered innocent until they're proven guilty, or to be considered innocent until they're proven liable. So in this case, she's not even suing him in court. She's lodging a complaint. And I believe if, in this case of Justin, if he's genuinely this creep, then we'll find out. We'll find out. Liz Plank quit. I don't know if she said why. Did she quit because she knows that the thing is tanking and she's like, well, let me get out now? I mean, I don't know. Sometimes you know that somebody didn't do the thing, but if you're associated with them, you're going to get burnt up. Or maybe she thinks that he did do the thing. Maybe she knows he did the things. Maybe she knows for a fact. Again, this is all speculation. And I get the fact that some people think that the text messages look terrible. I saw a lot of text messages from PR people, and there was one text message I saw that Justin talked about his neurodivergence, and a lot of people were attacking that as trying to use neurodivergence as a way to excuse SA. But again, if that's only if it's true. If it's true that it happened. So, this is a topic that is so fraught with loaded statements, loaded questions, loaded perspectives. As a person who's been through things, you might not even look back at it like the same way as how you looked at it at the time. There's like this topic of revoking consent. The idea that someone said, yes, I say yes to you, and then in the morning or the next day or a month later or 10 years later, I'm like, you know what, actually, I said yes, but I didn't really want to say yes. Or revoking consent, meaning we're doing it, it started, and penetration has occurred, but now I am revoking consent. Stop. I mean, if you say yes to the person at the time, but then later you realize. So that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes it's fuzzy and it's hazy. And to turn around and say, you raped me when you were saying yes. Like when I go back to the situation that I had 25 years ago with that guy where I said no 1,000 times. There's no way he didn't know that I didn't want to. There's no way that he didn't realize that he was pressuring me and relentlessly pursuing it. There's no way that he didn't realize that he was pretending to be playful while he's pushing me down on the couch and like literally getting on top of me and trying and me like giving in. There's no way he can look back on that. I mean, of course there's a way, because he may not be conscious. He may not be aware. He may not be honest with himself. And that's part of why I didn't want to be his friend anymore, because it's like, it seemed like he felt that he was entitled to touch me in certain ways that he wasn't. And he never seemed to get the hint. And it's like, I don't want to be around somebody like that. I don't want to keep even making excuses for that. So, I don't know. I'm curious about what will happen. I'm just throwing my thoughts into the bucket. It's a lifelong topic that can be explored and healed from. part 3. I guess this time I'll get more perilous into the treacherous excavation of my mind. So I've already mentioned that from birth to 5, I experienced SA. Then I blacked it out. Then from 13 to 19, I experienced a variety of SA. I already detailed the one about when I was 15. And then there was a series of situations with a variety of guys that it's like I didn't know how to say no. There was this one guy that I felt sorry for him, and I really didn't want to, and I was fully aware of the fact that I did not want to. My body and mind and heart, everything was saying no, but something inside of me, I remember so specifically thinking, somehow I have to. I can't say no. I don't know how to say no. I don't know how to say I don't want to do this. And it was terrible, and I didn't like it at all. And then there was this experience with a kid in my grade, like freshman year of high school. And we went to the movies, and after the movies we went behind, or maybe it was before the movies, I don't know. At some point, I don't even know if we went to the movies, to be honest. We went somewhere, and we went and sat somewhere, and it was dark, and he asked me to put it in my mouth. And my memory is that I was like, oh, okay. And then he like opened his pants, and I went and I did for like a second, and it was soft and tiny and gross to me. It was like flaccid, and I was just like, whoa, like I didn't want to do it at all. And I stopped. And that kid, for the next 4 years, whenever we would sit next to it, and we had names with the same like last initial, so he literally sat next to me in homeroom and stuff for like 4 years, in assemblies sometimes, and he would bring it up. He would like tease me. He would try to get me to admit, and I was always, I denied it. I would always be like, you're lying, that never happened, because I was so ashamed and disgusted. And I didn't have the mindset to say, I'd never wanted to do that, and it grossed me out, and like, just stop. I think he did actually say sorry. I think maybe, I think like graduation, we were sitting next to each other, and he was like, I'm sorry that I teased you about that all these years. And I was like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. So going back a little bit, when I was 13, taking the bus to summer camp as a counselor in training, a CIT, there was 2 different 17-year-olds that, well, there was one, he did something, he wanted me to touch it, put my mouth on it. Oh, no, I mean, I think I touched it, and I looked at it, and we were literally on a bus with a bunch of other fucking kids and counselors. And then in my 20s, well, in my teen years and in my 20s, there were like situations where the guy was like kind of being aggressive, and I didn't know how to say no, and so it happened even though I didn't want it to. And then the guy, when I was 15 and he was 19, I revisited him again when I was like 20, or no, maybe I was like 19, and we hung out for a little while, and he was very sexually aggressive, and I didn't like it, and it didn't feel good. It actually felt bad. And there was a time where we were in the car, and he drove to the back of some old crazy, scary place. And then he whipped it out and he's like, do it. And I'm like, no, take me home. And he took me home, and then I saw him again when I was 25, and he was giving me a massage, and it was like, Rah! I was like, oh my God, stop. And then my fiance found out where I was, and he took the car, and I ended up not, I was like, oh my God, thank God I got caught, because I didn't want to do that. Which was terrible. And then, me and my fiance broke up, which is what I wanted to anyway. But then, then I've been in situations where I was pressured, it was my boyfriend, and he pressured me to do something I didn't want to do. He pressured me to let him record me. I didn't want to. And he did it anyway. And literally 20 years later, recently, that same guy contacted me and said all kinds of disgusting stuff. He was literally cyber porn revenge threats. And I still want to go press charges or make a report, because it's illegal to do that. And then there was another guy that I was with. I thought it was super serious, and he was physically aggressive. And at that point, I was in my 30s. I was in my mid 30s, and I was dating a man who, when we would have sex, he was rough. And it's flashback to when I was 15, and my ass is on the pillow because I'm trying to get away from the guy, and he's ramming it in ha 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 ha, look at you running away. Isn't that funny? Let me be more aggressive. And there I was 20 years later as a 35-year-old with a guy who's doing the same thing, and I'm like, this is what sex is, which it isn't. And that is the mind of someone who's been abused and who hasn't healed. So this is super graphic. It's probably going to not be able to be monetized, and I don't know if I'm going to even try to share it publicly, but so anyway, that's just my history. And I'm healing every day. I'm healing and learning to heal, and that's a big chunk of why I actively choose to be celibate, going on 10 years now, which I absolutely love and adore. Reclaiming my body, my choice. So I have a great deal of sensitivity towards towards behaviors that are unwanted in these circumstances where you don't really know how to speak up, and and you're like, is this weird? Is this Is this this is super awkward? And then, so back to Baldoni, Blake Lively, again, I am not trying to defend a man who allegedly may have done a bunch of things that would be terrible. I just also feel that men deserve equal protection from allegations as well as from abuse. And it happens to men. Men do get abused. Men do get put into these situations sometimes with women who are trying to take advantage or push them or get them into a situation like this where they can make all these allegations. And I just think that we should really, really listen to both people and see what they have to say, see what other people have to say, what do witnesses have to say, what do roll the videotape. Let's see. Let's actually investigate, think critically, and not jump to a conclusion because it's so salacious, as well as it enrages us and it makes us feel so protective of somebody if we think they're getting harmed, and so enraged at the person that we think is doing it. And sometimes it is the woman who's abusing and accusing and falsely alleging, but a lot of times, 90 to 98% of the time, it's true. So with those odds, open-minded and
GetLoveDreamingPeach.com